In this video, we're going to be installing the Bilstein 5160 rear shocks and Bilstein 1.5-inch lift springs. I'll show you what tools are needed for the job, a few easy install techniques, how to mount the reservoirs and lock pin, and how to make sense of all this mounting hardware. Stick around. On my last video, we installed 2-inch Bilstein 6112s on the fronts, so this will complete the suspension lift for the 4Runner. I'll be doing the passenger side for the video today, and the same will apply for the driver side. We're going to do a couple things differently than many of the videos out there. For one, we'll disconnect the sway bar. A lot of people will disconnect from here. We're going to disconnect it straight from the axle. There'll be two 14mm bolts here, and on the other side, two 14mm bolts here. This will be the hardest one because the gas tank is in the way, so we'll use a wrench for that. Once the sway bar is disconnected, the last thing holding the axle up and the spring in will be the shock. We'll disconnect the lower shock mount, which is a 17mm bolt, and we'll be supporting the axle with a jack. Once we lower this jack down, the axle will come down, and that coil spring will be able to come out. Then we can remove the top shock mount and remove the shock as well. Is a little prep work with these 5160s before you install them. Also note that they are side specific. So this will be the right side. This will be a locking pin that engages here, and it'll go up through the frame. I'm going to show you everything on the video. The lower bushing, you have two washers that could possibly fit, so you need to test fit them into the upper shock mount. This is the one that works for me. It has no play. This one had play, so I put an X on it. That goes to the side. Once the top shock mount is through the frame, the setup for that is this bushing here. This washer, which is a concave washer. The concave side goes up, and then sitting on top of that is the lock nut. Also note that this lower bushing does have this top hat. The way that everything goes together is this is a anti-rotation plate that goes on first, and it fits only one way. After that's on, the lower bushing will go on. Then the correct washer that fits into your vehicle will go on, and that fits right over that bushing. Then the shock will go in. Once the shock is through the frame, this pin actually is mounted in the frame and it'll lock into the shock so it doesn't spin when you tighten it. And then the top part of the frame will go the bushing concave washer, and the lock nut. So this is the setup for the install. Here is all the mounting hardware for the reservoir. It's very intimidating, all these pieces, but we're going to break it down and we're going to make it nice and simple. These are the parts I'm going to use for the reservoir mount. A lot of those extra parts that I showed earlier are if you do not have a threaded hole in the frame. I happen to have it, so these are my selected parts. I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. The final result after the suspension settled was a 2 1/4 inch lift on the front, a 1 1/2 inch lift on the back. I'll be doing some off-road testing here in the near future, but as of right now, driving around town, I'm very happy with the way it rides. Stay tuned, because this weekend I'm going to be testing some new LED headlights. I do have high hopes for these LEDs, and after I test them out and review them, I'm going to be giving them away on the video I release on Monday. Very shortly, I also will be releasing a video on a brand new head unit that was released specifically for the 4Runner, and also a new set of skid plates that I have not seen yet on the market. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I will see you on the next one.